Hello viewers and welcome back to Phil's Garage for episode 9 now of this GS1000G rebuild. If you watched the previous episodes, you'll see that we got in the last episode to start the engine. Seems to start pretty easily and idle, etc. So in this episode there's still lots of little things to do. Got to put the airbox on and all sorts of stuff, check a few things. But we'll also maybe take it for a quick ride and see if there's any other issues that we come across. So yeah, let's get on with it. Right, so as you've seen, the bike does start and run. Sounds pretty good actually. So even though it's just slapped together, there's still a lot of tidying up to do, but I think I'm going to just take it for a little short ride down the road, just to check that the rest of the bike is working correctly, like brakes and clutch and gearbox, etc. So yeah, I won't go too far because it's not registered, but just down a little back street here, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so I've rolled it out of the garage, checked the tyres. Actually they were about 10 pounds, so that was interesting. Let's put it onto reserve, which there should be enough fuel in there for that. Seems to start pretty easily. So this is the first time that this thing has actually been ridden in about 5 years. Put it into first. Okay, clutches are grabbing. Clutch needs dusting a little bit, but let me just adjust that a second. It's grabbing a bit too close to the bar. Try that again. A bit better. Alright, she's moving. Ooh, those brakes don't feel great, but anyway, I guess they haven't been used for a while. Alright, here we go. Second gear. Fourth gear. Trying to get these brakes to do something. Slowing me down, but not very well. As I say, that makes it about 5 years, so I might have something to do with it. Okay, so far so good. Nothing's exploded. Let me just go across the road here into a little back street. Hopefully we don't get caught by the police. Okay, we're back. Idling a bit high. Okay, so after that test ride, yeah, a bit of smoke, but I'm hoping that's coming from the exhaust system, because the pipe on the right hand side is blowing a bit of smoke. But I did pull the plugs out and they don't look oily at all, so I'm hoping that will burn out, and that's sort of left over from previous running. I've done the ignition timing, put a timing light on here, and that was slightly out, only a fraction, so that's all good. So I can put that cover back on now. The next thing to do is probably sync the carbies. So I did actually get this genuine Suzuki vintage Suzuki carby balancer from the guy that I bought the bike from. So I'm going to try to use that, even though I do have a set of gauges. But first of all, I'll have to synchronize these. So yeah, I'll have to make sure that these are actually synchronized together before I use them. So I've actually connected all of the hoses together onto one hose. So I'll connect that to one of the carbies and see if I can get that to sync up. Okay, so I've set that up on the stand. So all four are connected together. There are some little screws underneath there that I presume will adjust it. So I'll see if I can fiddle around with it and see if I can get them doing similar things. So yeah, they're pretty close. I'll see what happens when they're connected to all four carbies. Quite touchy, those little adjustments, but yeah, it's try and use this old genuine Suzuki machine. So yeah. Okay, so I tried it with this old Suzuki balancer, but the results were a bit all over the place, you know, so I wasn't entirely confident that it was reading. I was swapping pipes over and getting different results and things, so I think I might end up using just my meters that I know are nice and calibrated, so use them instead. But anyway, nice thing to have, I guess. Okay, so that's using my gauges. So we got 4, 3, 2, 1. So remember, we're trying to balance everything to number 3 because that's where the throttle cable goes to. 3 to 4 looks pretty close. And then 2 is a bit low, and then 1 a bit lower again. So basically what that means is if the vacuum is reading high, that means the butterfly is slightly more closed than the one you're reading from. And if the vacuum is a bit low, that means that the butterfly is a bit more open than the others. So we need to do a bit of adjusting, which will mean moving this tank off the bike somewhere so we can still use it, and we can get to those little adjuster screws. Okay, so those carbies are pretty well tuned, I think. I was having some trouble getting down into these little 8mm retaining nuts and the little set screws that you use, especially that one in there. And I was thinking, how the hell am I going to get in there? Then I suddenly remembered that the guy I bought this bike from gave me this tool. I didn't really pay too much attention to it when he gave it to me, but basically it allows you to, there's an 8mm nut driver there and a little screwdriver. So you slide that down through there onto the nut, and then attach the screw, and you can adjust, undo the nut, turn that, and then tighten it back up again. So that came in very handy. So thank you, Phil. That was excellent. Okay, so now that the engine is in and I'm about to put this timing cover back on, I figure I might as well put these little Suzuki emblems on here. Now, to help you get them straight, there is a tiny little notch down here which lines up with a tiny little notch on the emblem itself. So I'll clean this and the other side with alcohol and stick them on. Okay, so that's the little Suzuki emblem on this side. Hopefully that stays on, but it gets stuck on pretty well. And then one on this side too. So that was handy. I had them sitting in a drawer somewhere. just makes it look that much better. Now, as usual on old bikes, somebody has butchered the wiring. So this wiring here, which is just floating in midair, not insulated at all, is one of the ignition coils, and the other one is soldered, but around this frame rail, which I think it should be going underneath there. At least they've insulated that. But so yeah, that's the next job, is to redo those. I might put some bullet connectors on there so I can disconnect them if I need to. Okay, so that's all soldered and redone with bullet connectors. So that should work a lot better, a lot more professional, and I can actually remove it if I need to. So yeah, one less thing to do. Right, so I've been tidying up wiring, getting things out of the way, using some cable ties and Velcro straps to sort of hold things in place. But the next thing to do is put the airbox on. I had a bit of a go at it, but I don't think the airbox has been on this bike for years. And so these rubbers had sort of shrunk, I guess. And there's no way they were going to go on the carbies. So what I did is I removed them from the airbox itself, heated them up with a heat gun, and then stretched them over the carbies and put the clamps on overnight. So hopefully that has stretched them enough back into shape so that I can get the airbox on. But if that doesn't work, I might try and stretch them over something a bit bigger after heating them up, and see if this thing will slip on somehow. Anyway, let's give that a whirl. All right, so that seems to have worked, because I've loosened this off and that now slips on there quite easily. So I'll put all these back in the airbox and see if we can get it on. Well, that actually worked better than I thought it would. Put those rubbers back in the airbox and then it slipped on pretty easily. I had to fiddle around with the other side a little bit to get them on, you know, as close to 100% as possible. But yeah, airbox is in. Just got to clean and re-oil the air filter, and then that bit is done. So great success. Right, so I've done a whole bunch of little things. You saw me get the airbox on, tidied up a lot of the wiring, put side panels on, etc. And then I ordered some new fuel hose, because the fuel hose I had on it was too thick. The outside diameter was too thick, so I got this new stuff which fit on, but the problem was to get the other end of that down onto the little inlet between the carburetors. There's no way I could do that without taking the airbox off, which turned out to be a fairly quick job. So I had to pull the carburetors off, the airbox, and put that on. So that's all right now. I did replace the exhaust bolts with some socket-headed cap screws rather than the temporary ones that I bought from the local hardware. So yeah, tidied it all up, and then think it's time to go for a longer ride to see how it's running at sort of high speed. The other ride was just literally just down the street and chucked a Yui and came back. So we'll take it for another ride.
1 hour later.
Right, so I've taken the bike on a longer run. Got up to just over 100 kilometers an hour, so that was good. So some good news, but also some bad news. Good news is the brakes were pretty terrible before, but I've sort of been leaning on them as I rode, and they've certainly seemed to be getting better. So they're sort of bedding in. So I presume they've been sitting around for a long time, so they're getting better. The other thing is that the smoke that was coming out of the right-hand pipe eventually stopped. So my theory is that there was oil or whatever left over in the pipes from previous running, and that eventually burnt off. So yeah, on the way back, the last sort of 5 minutes, there was no smoke, and when I got back here, there was no smoke as well. So that's good. So it means we're not burning any oil. But when we got back, and I sort of, as I was riding, thinking, yeah, something's not quite right, and it was only running on 3 cylinders at low revs. So yeah, it turns out number 2, there's a problem in pot number 2. So I put new spark plugs in because it actually had the wrong spark plugs in it. Check compressions and things like that, and tappets, etc. But yeah, just started again this morning, and I checked it with an infrared thermometer. That yeah, number 2's not running. I mean, it probably does if I give it a good rev. So I'm thinking that the carbies need cleaning. So if you remember from one of the previous episodes, I gave them a quick check and then just put them on. But I think they need to be pulled apart and put through the ultrasonic cleaner and give them a good clean, because it looks like the idle circuit is not working on that one. So anyway, I guess, yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, those carbies have been sitting around for a couple of years, so it's not surprising. So yes, we'll pull it apart and take those carbies off and give them a good clean.
A few minutes later.
Okay, starting to take these carbies apart, put them in their respective containers. Once I've got them all apart, then we'll stick them in the ultrasonic cleaner and get them all clean. Right, so I've got a bit of a production line going here. These carbies have been pulled apart completely, all put through the ultrasonic cleaner, all the bits, and cleaned, so they're ready to go back together. Another thing I discovered while looking through the bits and pieces that I got with the bike was these little kits here. And that's a little carburetor kit, and that has the main jet and the pilot jet to suit these carbies. It has an air jet, but that's the wrong size, but that's not a problem. It also has the mixture screws, but they're not quite the same shape as the originals, so I'll probably stick to the originals. So yeah, that's a nice discovery, because some of those little pilot jets, getting those out without damaging them is quite difficult. So I managed to get them all out, but yeah, anyway, that's another good thing I got from Phil, the previous owner. Thanks, Phil. Okay, all those carbies are now back together. So it's just a matter of putting them into their assemblies, and not forgetting to put these little tubes between them for overflows and fuel in and overflows. So we'll sort of lubricate them a bit and stick them together and start bolting these back together. Okay, they're back together. I had to replace the O-rings on those little overflows because they'd gone rock hard, but everything else seemed to have gone back together pretty well. So yeah, I guess the next thing to do is stick it back on the bike, cross my fingers and hope that I have fixed the problem. Well, tomorrow morning, I think. So one of the last things I want to do, hopefully last things, is some work around this petcock, which is still dribbling a bit. And the issue is that the seal between the petcock and the tank is fine, that's sealing off. But what happens is, because these bolt holes go right through to the inside of the tank, the fuel can work its way slowly down the thread of the bolt and then come out and dribble around the bolt head. found out what I need to get is some of these bonded washers or Doughty washers. So I've got a few of those. So that's actually a washer, 6mm washer that has a seal built into it. So I just need to swap those standard washers for these, and that should fix that problem. Okay, so carburetors are back on. Airbox is still off, but just want to try this and see if it's actually running on all 4 cylinders instead of 3. So let's give it a try. Okay, so it would seem that something is still not quite right, because it's sort of running on 4, but not really. Like if I check the temperatures of the exhaust, number 2 is about half the temperature of all the others. If you look here, you can see, hopefully, that's 297, that's 240, 284, 297, and then 135. So yeah, something's not quite right. So unfortunately the head's going to have to come back off and see what's going on. Maybe a head gasket or something, I don't know. So disappointing. Okay viewers, well, we might call it quits on this video now. As you can see, I'm having a few problems. I'm confident that I can find out what the issue is. So, you know, some further investigation. I'm sure I'll get it running right eventually, but I need a bit of a break from this bike at the moment, which is handy because I'm actually heading overseas for a few weeks to Canada. So I'll be thinking about this bike the whole time I'm over there and what I need to do to fix it. But as I say, I'm confident we'll get to the bottom of this. So thanks for watching and keeping up with this series, and hopefully in the next episode we'll fix the problems and get this bike running 100%. So once again, thanks for watching. If you like this, give us a like and a subscribe, and I will see you, it'll be a while because I'll be away for almost a month, so the next video might be a little while, but anyway, fingers crossed that we can fix this small issue at the end and get this bike going. So bye for now.